7800X3D gets a little goofy. A 720p OLED monitor is hitting the streets, and Asus is pulling some nonsense with their new GPU. I don't like it. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. We're going to start off today talking about some new details that are surfacing about the Ryzen 7 7800X3D. Yes, this is an older CPU. However, there are some changes that are apparently happening to the CPU that might make you think that you got a fake, but it turns out that's not necessarily true because there are missing capacitors at the top portion of the 7800X3D right now, and it turns out that that's an official move by AMD. Somebody over on the Chip Hell forum noted that they got a CPU without those top SMDs and contacted AMD to find out, hey, is this legitimate? And it turns out that yes, indeed, AMD has changed up how they're orienting all of the SMDs on a lot of these CPUs, and that change was made months ago, which was found in other Reddit posts where people were wondering, did I get a fake CPU? As you can see right here, it doesn't quite look like the previous 7800X3D, which had the SMDs at the top half, not just the bottom half. But it turns out this is an official move by AMD, so in case you get a CPU that's looking a little sus, but you got it from like a legitimate retailer, probably you got a legitimate CPU. Just kind of as a PSA for anybody who's looking to pick up an older generation CPU, they've been on good sale. I think you can get them for roughly $350 on some of the better sales that are happening right now, and it's a great gaming CPU for that price, but maybe don't be concerned if it looks a little wonky from what you see from other people's out on the internet. But what I'm seeing on the internet is the release date of the GPD Win 5, which has the Strix Halo APU baked into it. Now, we don't have the price about this bad boy, but GPD's website acknowledging that it's coming out October 17th, which is just in a scooch of a couple months, and it allegedly will have up to 4 terabytes of storage and a 128 gigabyte capacity for the RAM as Strix Halo is capable of. Now, there have been other people who have gotten their hands on this Win 5 and have said that the starting price should be roughly $1,400 for the 32 gig version and $1,600 for the 64 gig version, with the unknown price for the 128. I would guess it's probably at or north of $2,000, but I'm excited. I want to at least check it out, play around with it. It's detachable battery, all that kind of stuff. GPD, if you're listening, we'll do a review here on UFD Tech. But what's happening sooner than October 17th is Intel and their new game promotion that you get with their CPUs and GPUs. They're giving away Battlefield 6 until September 7th with a whole bunch of various Intel products, and that includes some of the older generation of CPUs. So it doesn't include the 12th gen Alder Lake CPUs, but 13th and 14th gen do appear to be included. Things like the 14500, which happens to be a pretty good deal mid-range CPU right now, as well as all of the new stuff, and then also some gaming GPUs being thrown in there, the B580, B570, in case you're interested in getting Battlefield 6. It's going to be part of a deal for all of that in case you're already planning on buying an Intel product. I wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to get a free copy of Battlefield 6, but from what I've heard of people playing the beta, it seemed to be enjoyable. If you played it, let me know what you thought of Battlefield 6 down below in the comments, while Reece lets you know about some other deals, not just BF6.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet, and it is Wednesday, my dudes. Here's the deals. Starting off, we have this Mechland Cedu C60 HE wired Hall effect compact keyboard for only $29.99, making it $30 or 50% off. But then next we have this LG Ultra Gear 27-inch 1440p 144Hz IPS gaming monitor for only $189.99, making it $110 off. And then lastly we have this gorgeous MSI X870E Gaming Plus Wi-Fi AM5 ATX motherboard for only $239.99, making it $90 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, there's a goofy deal going on with Asus's new monitors that they announced at Gamescom 2025. These are actually kind of neat in a few ways. They're going to be tandem OLED panels, which is a similar technology that we've seen on other consumer devices such as the new iPad Pros. They have 2 OLED screens on top of each other, which helps to increase brightness, expands the color range, and then also potentially increases lifespan, which Asus is saying is going to be 60% longer than their previous models. Now, they're launching 2 different tandem OLED screens here. One is the ROG Strix, which is going to be be 280 Hz. However, the ROG Swift is the intriguing one of the two because number one, it has a translucent back design, which I think looks pretty exciting. I think this is a very good look on a monitor. However, the more intriguing part is that it is also a dual mode monitor, meaning that it has a refresh rate at one resolution and then a completely different refresh rate at another. Typically, we've seen this at 4K and 1080p, but this ROG Tandem OLED happens to have a 1440p 540 Hz mode and a 720p 720 Hz mode, which number one, incredibly fast, but also it's intriguing that I don't think I've seen another dual mode monitor support 720p, and if they are out there, I don't think they're from some major manufacturers. So this is intriguing that we're getting pushed down to a lower resolution in order to hit those speeds, but for esports gamers who would benefit from a 720 Hz panel, this is likely the move because they don't need the resolution. A lot of times they typically drop it to be lower, so it seems like a smart move, but it's also I'm surprised we haven't seen more of this 720p setups. And I don't know if I want to see more of Asus's other portion of the Gamescom announcement, which was their 30th anniversary edition of the ROG Matrix graphics card, the RTX 5090 ROG Matrix getting unveiled. And a little phallic in its look, in its approach, very rounded, bulbous edge with a slim shaft going down the other side. However, it's not just reminding people of other things, it's also reminding people of older generation of GPUs, such as the Matrix 9800 GT as featured here. So it does look like Asus is doing a callback to earlier versions of their graphics cards. It reminds me of a lot of ATI GPUs that I've seen before, but it's going to be Asus's fastest GPU ever with up to 800 watts of power, which I want to talk about for a second because I think that is actually the worst part about this graphics card, not its design. And it has liquid metal for its copper plate to make it so that it can actually cool all of that. Has power detection on the pins so that it's likely not going to melt, something that's very similar to the Astral setup, and it has 4 fans. So this is a beefy graphics card with a whole bunch going on to it. But the thing I want to discuss is that this sets a terrible precedent for the 1000 unit limited edition version of the graphics card, because in order to hit the maximum power of the 800 watts, you have to be locked down to an Asus motherboard. They are making it so that they are locking features of a graphics card behind a paywall of getting one of their BTF motherboards. Because while it is capable of hitting 800 watts of power, that is only possible if you have the 16-pin power connector and the detachable BTF power connection also attached. So you have to use both in order to get that power delivery of 800 watts. So they are forcing you into their ecosystem in order for you to maximize your performance out of this, which I think is just a terrible precedent to set in the DIY PC space, because that is the antithesis of everything that we have been trying to have for the DIY market, not locking people down to specific vendors in order to get more performance. You don't have to get an Intel GPU with an Intel CPU. You don't have to get an AMD GPU with an AMD CPU. You can get NVIDIA, and they're likely going to work roughly the same. Obviously, the performance of your CPU is going to vary, but you don't have to be locked down to a specific setup. And the way around this is 2 16-pin power connectors. It's not like they have to go with the BTF adapter. There are other RTX 5090s out there that require 2 16-pin power connectors. However, Asus is deciding to force you into buying one of their highest end motherboards in order to get the maximum performance out of their highest end graphics card. Now, while this is likely not going to be a grand scale problem because this is a limited edition GPU and they're not going to sell very many of them, and they're going to be very, very expensive, and they're going to be limited to the upper echelon, I think, again, just terrible precedent to be set that you need to have an Asus motherboard in order to run this Asus graphics card at its max capacity. And just looking at something like their other BTF cards, like the RG Astral 5090, they have the same setup whether you're on the 16-pin power connector or on the BTF setup. You're not required to use BTF if you get this graphics card. You can use whatever you want. You don't have to be locked down to an Asus motherboard in case you happen to, for whatever reason, buy a BTF card. You still get the same 600 watt power out of the RG Astral as you would if you had a non-BTF board or an actual BTF board. So that's my take on the 5090 Matrix. People are split on the actual design of the card. It's bulbous edge with like an infinity mirror matrix. Part of it looks cheap in my opinion. Part of it looks, I mean, it's supposed to be retro, I guess, but I think I'm just more curmudgeonly about the actual choices that they're making in order for you to get the maximum performance, which is to force you into an Asus motherboard. A lot of engineering went into it. It's a great card in terms of being able to cool 800 watts, but I don't like the precedent. And I like what you guys precedented, which is leaving comments. So let's see what you had to say in yesterday's episode. We got Felix saying, I cloud game via Steam Remote Play off of my rig at home. I open a VPN connection back to my home network and then play it off of the Steam Link app on my mobile device and controller accessory. Makes for a great time killer at some airports like SeaTac with great Wi-Fi access points, and I've even streamed Cyberpunk from a couple states away. Sometimes the high ping latency can be annoying, but quick reaction times and aiming accuracy isn't terribly important for my stealth runner play style. That's kind of what I saw in a lot of the comments when it comes to remote play. A lot of you are using Moonlight and you're just kind of remoting into your local at-home network. The only advantage that I would see that GeForce Now would offer over that is if you are several states away, having a closer data center than whatever your home setup is. Like when I moved to South Africa, I can't just keep a PC here and remote into it because the latency is going to be too bad. But GeForce Now has local servers in South Africa to make it so that I would be able to take my performance with me to another country, which I see the benefit in the service, but there also is some weird precedent being set for charging you for storage that you can locally install. Yeah. And then we got a lot of people talking about my treatment of the Gravistar Yesting card yesterday with DK Man saying, that's not disrespect, I'll show you disrespect. Well, yeah. And then Blazing Death says, throwing my own Yestin video guard across the room in solidarity. Appreciate you, friend. Thank you for doing that. And then Beaver saying, I actually gasped when you threw that GPU on the table. And Mendy saying, bro, that hurts deep within my soul. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna do anything more to it today. It's gonna stay safe until we put it in a PC. We'll see what happens with that. It'll probably be a giveaway for UFD Music if I had to guess. That'll be the plan. We also, again, just as a reminder, have giveaways going on over on our Twitch channels, twitch.tv/UFD Tech. We've got a 5090 laptop, the Razer Blade 18, as well as a 9060 XT PC that you can win over there, or a 9070 XT PC over on UFD Music. It's not the Yestin one. I believe it's the Sapphire Nitro Plus that is for that one, but you can go check out our Twitch streams in case you're interested, and there's a little added bonus for all of that. And I'm not going to give you any more bonus for this episode of Hot News. I'll see you back here for more of the hottest tech news in the future.